short story, one that helps to give a visual demonstration, I hope, of our topic, boundaries to freedom. The story centers around Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who is most well known as a friend of William Wordsworth, as well as creating the phrase some of you may remember, having an albatross around your neck. It came from his most famous poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. The story is told that the poet Coleridge was visited by an admirer one day. During the conversation, the subject got around to children. "I believe," said the visitor, "that children should be given a free rein to think and act, and thus learn at an early age to make their own decisions. This is the only way they can grow into their full potential." Coleridge invited him. He said, "Come see my flower garden," and led the man outside. The visitor took one look and exclaimed, "But that's nothing but a yard full of weeds." "It used to be filled with roses," said Coleridge, "but this year I thought I'd just let the garden grow as it willed without tending to it. This is the result." So as you know, boundaries are important in life, and they're everywhere, beginning with nature and creation. The law of electricity has boundaries. The law of gravity has boundaries. And once you're aware of these boundaries or rules, you have absolute freedom to create what you will within the laws and boundaries that they provide. Or the natural and logical consequences of not doing so will be reflected back to you. Other examples of going from boundaries to freedom. As a child, a toddler's freedom to roam is often restricted, isn't it? To be within view of mom or dad or the babysitter. The child can play or dance, learn how to walk, practice running, whatever comes to that baby mind, as long as it's within the view of the adult. But if that toddler leaves the designated space, what happens? The parent is chasing after them to bring them back to the boundary of where they're allowed to be. Now, as the children grow, the boundaries expand, don't they? Do you remember when you were permitted for the first time, perhaps, to go outside in the backyard alone, with no one hovering over you or telling you what you could do? Or when you learned to ride your tricycle, and then a little later your bicycle, and oh, the places you could go. The physical boundaries expanded, and new invisible ones were often enforced. The ones about when to come home, how far you could go, calling your parents if you were going to be late, letting them know who you were with. These invisible boundaries usually carried over when you got your driver's license too, didn't they? Greater distances, more social connection with friends, wider opportunities for activities and trouble. And again, as long as you adhered, obeyed the boundaries, the rules set down by your parent or guardian, you had complete freedom within those parameters. It was good training for later. In school, whether it's elementary or junior high, high school, or college, there are certain boundaries, physical, social, and moral, as to how students are to behave, as well as expected conduct of the teachers and administrators. In the business world, for example, when employees travel as part of their job, there is often a boundary or restriction as to how much you can spend each day on food. You have your per diem costs, or the cost of the hotel, or the car, or the airfare. I'm not sure too many companies allow first-class carte blanche travel for their employees, at least not all their employees. Yet within these boundaries, you have the freedom to choose where you want to eat and sleep, what time you book your flights, what type of model or car you want to drive within the boundaries of the rental car agency, and so forth. These aspects are also true about the law of mind, the co-creation process we are privileged to have when working with infinite intelligence, aka God or Spirit. In the Science Mind textbook it states, freedom of will means the ability to do, say, and think as one wishes, to express life as one personally desires. To imagine without the power to manifest such imagination would be to remain in a dream world, which would never come to self-realization. This is not the world in which man lives at all. For man's world is one of self-expression, even though his expression appears to limit him. We are in an infinite mind, and infinite mind is also in us. It is by this mind that we think. This mind is eternal, therefore we are eternal. This mind is complete, therefore we are spiritually complete. You and I have unlimited freedom to create whatever we choose, whatever we can think. And we get to use the power of God to do it. Think about that. You have all the power of God at your disposal. And we get to live with the results of our choices and learn from them and create again. Now in Science of Mind, we teach that God is spirit and love and law and the power. It's all God. So to have the best experiences in co-creating with the divine, it's usually a good idea to create for something good. To tap into that all-knowing intelligence, that loving consciousness, and create through your words and your thoughts and actions something you would actually like to experience. Because here's the deal. The law part of God just creates whatever you choose and focus on most often, most consistently. It doesn't say, uh-oh, that's not such a good idea. Maybe you ought to rethink that thought. No, of course not. The law of mind, of creation, responds in the same way that Wesley did in the Princess Bride movie. Do you remember what he would always say to Buttercup whenever she asked him to do something? As you wish. So if you constantly go around complaining that you don't have enough time or money for the upcoming holidays, and everything you want to buy or do, the law says, all together now, if you write down on your curiosity list that you intend to travel to England or Alaska, and you have passion behind that desire, and you start moving in the direction of this dream, the law says, if you decide with clarity and conviction that you are going to finish that college degree, or write that book, or find that special someone, or get that job, that career that you want to change into, and you focus your attention and your time and your talents toward your goal, the law says, as you wish. As you wish. You are working within the law of mind at all times, no matter what you are creating. You are a creation of God, a child of the divine, and you have access to all the power of the universe. And as much as you can conceive and believe and embody, you have unbridled freedom within this law, this boundary, to create according to your mental equivalent, whatever you declare and focus on, to have in your life. I came across some Greek wisdom by author Agapi Stassinopoulos. She wrote Conversations with Goddesses, Revealing the Divine Power Within You. And she offers a list of how-to ways to get in touch with Artemis, known as the daughter of Zeus, the Greek goddess of independence and freedom, of the hunt and wild animals, and the protector of girls and women. Whether Artemis or God or Spirit, you might want to write down these 8 key point ways to tap into the divine power. Number 1, learn to establish boundaries. Practice saying no without feeling guilty. Years ago, as I was digging deeper into my self-esteem issues, it was a huge awareness to learn that no is a complete sentence. get to set boundaries around my time and what I focus upon. I can do it with love and respect, with emphasis and conviction, not to hurt someone, or with excuses about why I don't want to or can't do something. The thing I discovered was once I started saying no in certain situations, to certain things or to certain people, they either did it themselves or found someone else to ask. And in that process, we were both empowered through the process of establishing boundaries. And we had the opportunity to create who we are and what we care about experiencing in life. Number 2, choose to spend time with positive people who increase your energy rather than with people who deplete it. Isn't that why you come here? To be around positive people, to be uplifted each week, to have a sense of connection with one another and strengthen your direct relationship with the divine. It is for me, and I hope it's the same for you. Some time ago, I learned the phrase, energy vampires. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And knowing how it feels to come away from a conversation feeling so drained that you resist talking or seeing that person again. You know who those people are in your life. We all have them in our lives. In fact, during certain periods of darkness and sadness in early adulthood of my own, I'm sure I was considered one of those energy vampires to people around me. I had to take a look at myself and learn to relate differently, to change the way I talked about or thought about certain situations and people, to stop it. Once I started focusing on the little bit of good in life, life changed. I changed. And I saw more and more good. And that's how it works. It starts with you and your thoughts. Number 3, in all your activities, be clear about your purpose and do not be swayed by others' opinions. It's really good advice. Be clear about your purpose. Such clarity applies to doing prayer treatment work, starting out with a purpose for the prayer, something that needs recognition or resolution. Having a definite purpose, unique to you, applies to the kind of work you do, the activities you pursue, the goals you envision for yourself, and everything else you want to include in your livingness or lifestyle. The expression of who you are. Whether we follow the words of the Bible or the Science of Mind textbook, the Quran, or some other holy text, they all teach that there is more wisdom to be found by going within, listening to that still small voice, the God presence that lives in our hearts and souls, and as we learn, the center of our consciousness, than all the opinions of the world. Most, if not all, classes and teachers of how to be a success in the world direct their students to keep their ideas secret and sacred within themselves when it first appears. Maybe partly so somebody else doesn't beat you to the punch and create that thing, whatever it is, but mostly so you can get clear and strong about your purpose and not be so easily swayed or talked out of the idea, your dream, through the well-meaning opinions of others. To keep your ideas and purpose in the closet of your heart and mind, so they have time to take root, so you have time to work out the flaws, to nurture it, and help it grow stronger. Number 4, acknowledge to yourself the things you do well. Remember that you possess all the inner resources to achieve what you set out to do. The ideas you have to create certain things, express or be certain ways, those are unique to you. Only you can do them. Only you can give them life. That being said, take no action to do anything about them, then eventually somebody could create those ideas. Because you gave birth to them and brought them from the invisible into the visible world, and now they're available. It's up to you, at least for a while, as to what happens next. And please know this, I believe this so earnestly. You and I wouldn't even have these unique and creative ideas if we didn't already have the inner resources to express them, to bring them into being. At least the first step of them. Every person on this planet has been given unique talents and skills and gifts and wisdom of some kind. It's up to you as to how you use them. It's up to you and your belief in yourself, your confidence in yourself, and your mental equivalent of your thoughts as to how far you evolve with them. One of my favorite quotes is from George Bernard Shaw, a portion of which states, "I want to be thoroughly used up when I die." And it means to me to think bigger thoughts, have grander ideas. If they're coming up, I need to do something about them. And create as much as I'm able to while I'm in this physical form. To learn and express as much as possible before transitioning to the next life, whatever that is. To be thoroughly used up. Number 5, make a list of your short-term and long-term goals and read it out loud. Hearing your own voice can have a deeper impact than reading in silence. If you've ever done that practice of reading aloud, you know what this means. There's a different ear that hears when you read aloud. Again, making a list, a plan of your dreams and goals, and reading it out loud every day if you can, at least a couple times a week, to stay focused on your vision. The short-term plans are the steps to creating the long-term dreams. It's all connected. And another part of that is number 6. Envision your life as you wish it to be. Allow your imagination free rein. We did that when we were planning the Learning Center this year. We started out with a small space. And eventually, a very short time later, we've expanded. Who knows what's going to happen as the amount of equivalents keep growing. It's exciting to think about how Spirit's going to show up. There is no limit to the ideas that you can have. You have total freedom to think whatever you want. To start where you are, within the boundaries of where you are, and to expand from there. And just like the toddler idea mentioned earlier, to go from walking to a tricycle, to a bicycle, and finally an automobile, and beyond. You can envision whatever you choose from where you are right now. Then based on your beliefs, your acceptance, your willingness to pursue that direction, your energy, you grow accordingly. Ernest Holmes wrote, "Man's individuality enables him to make such use of the law as he desires. He is bound, not by limitation, but by limited thought." He also very emphatically stated, "No person whose entire time is spent in contemplation of limitation can demonstrate freedom from such limitation." I'm going to say that one more time. No person whose entire time is spent in contemplation of limitation can demonstrate freedom from such limitation. Don't limit yourself in your visioning process. Don't put roadblocks or if-onlys in your way. Ask yourself, what can you do right now with what you have toward its unfoldment? I'll bet there's always at least one thing you can do. One step you can take in the direction of your dreams. It might be having a prayer to get clarity about what the dream is. Number 7, take direct action to promote your physical well-being. Become aware of what helps you maintain an optimum level of energy. This is a very logical and practical suggestion. We all need to take care of ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, so we can fully express in the world. That care takes different forms for each person. Thank goodness much of our health and wellness is done for us through the body's own amazing ability to heal itself. Usually, all we need is just to supply it with its most basic requirements: proper nutrition, rest, water, exercise, and balancing our stress levels. It's really quite simple. And the body is very forgiving when we don't regularly do those practices, even if we go without for years at a time. But if you want optimal health, if you seek greater energy levels, you really do need to participate in the care of your body. A little something every day. Number 8, leave the city behind, letting nature infuse your spirit. Take walks in the park or hikes in the woods. I will admit I don't do this as often as I like. And I always feel better when I do. I make an effort to go outside at least once a day, to be in the sunshine, to feel the wind on my skin and the atmosphere of the day, to breathe in the seasons and the smells of this planet, and to connect with nature in some way. My spirit is always uplifted, and I feel connected to this thing called life. I think when we spend time in nature, we have a greater sense of connection with the divine, with spirit, and we can better appreciate the grandeur and the abundance that is all around us, if only we take the time to notice it. It's a great way to get in touch with your God self and just be. To have the freedom to be you. You have the freedom to use the law of mind in whatever manner you choose. The limits, the only boundaries are your own thinking. The law, God, will work on your behalf no matter what you think about, no matter what you choose. The great mystics and teachers knew about this law and learned to work with it, to show others how to do the same. Every major religion teaches that we are to work with God, with the divine, to rely on the infinite knowing that guides and directs us every step of the way, if we only listen to it and allow it to be so that we can experience the highest good for our lives as and through us. We have been encouraged and taught for thousands of years to live in unity with each other, with the laws of nature, within the principles or laws of the universe. We didn't make these laws, and fortunately, I for one am glad that we can't change them. They are constant, enduring, and unfailing. Once we get that, and work within the parameters, within the boundaries of these laws and the infinite knowing, when we stop resisting the change of our lives, the metamorphosis of our becoming, and accept the good that is there for us, to work with Spirit and strengthen the relationship of our God self, we will discover that we have absolute freedom to expand into one possibility after another. All we need to do is to think it, declare it, conceive it, believe it, and be willing to receive it. And the law, God, responds with